Nickelodeon has always been a hotspot for cartoons, with classic shows like Spongebob SquarePants and the Fairly Oddparents standing tall and proudly through the test of time. Even lesser-known shows like Doug and the Wild Thornberrys still get a good following years later.
There's all kinds of ways to keep a little brat quiet.
Throughout the years, the network has blessed us with countless friendly characters, but for every show, there has to be an opposing force as well, an antagonist to cause conflict in some way, and Nicktoons are no exception. But which villains are the most vile? That is what we're asking today.
Behold my victory!
But before we go any further, we gotta lay out the rules, Fairly Oddparent style. Firstly, there are many kinds of Nick shows and movies out there, so for this list, we are just focusing on the main Nicktoons lineup. No Nick Jr. or Nick movies. Secondly, the villain must be introduced in the cartoon show first, no movie villains. However, thirdly, if the villain of the show plays the role as a villain in a movie made after the show aired, then their deeds on the silver screen will count towards their overall morality. With the rules out of the way, I'm Kyle with Wicked Binge, and today this is Nickelodeon villains evil to most evil.
We need to destroy their hope.
As usual, we'll be starting with the least evil characters and working our way down to the most evil. Up first, for our least evil villain, we have a villain who isn't evil, Helga Pataki. Hailing from Hey Arnold, this schoolyard bully is most commonly seen pushing, shoving, and punching anyone she doesn't like, including our beloved football head. On the surface, that's all she seems to be. However, fans of the show know that she is not all that bad. Her problems seem to come forth from a neglectful home life, with a father who doesn't care about her and focuses more on her sister, Olga, who is oblivious to her ignorant parents. On top of that, her mother couldn't be a more obvious metaphor for a drunk person if she had the words, "I'm a drunk," tattooed on her forehead. She really didn't receive any forms of positive attention, at least until Arnold helped her from the rain and complimented her pink bow. This sets off her obsession with Arnold, and yes, it is an obsession, judging from the shrine she has of him. However, after being mocked by others for having a crush, she felt like the only choice of action was to toughen up and push back. This doesn't excuse her actions per se, but this does help explain why she acts like this. Besides, she does do her fair share of good deeds, ranging from trying to help Arnold from being used by Summer in Summer Love, while paying mind not to crush the poor kid, giving up her treasured boots to help her crush reunite Mr. Wynn with his daughter, and even helping Arnold save the town in the first movie. What puts her this low is the second movie, with her realizing how much Arnold wants to see his parents again and helping him escape from La Sombra, and even giving him her heart locket with Arnold's own face in it to stop the sleeping disease. In the end, despite what it may seem at first glance, Arnold puts it best in the Jungle movie. I think your heart is more pure than you know. Our second bad guy but not really goes to Nora Beatty, from Back at the Barnyard. In comparison to Dag's cruel and demented actions towards the farm animals, even killing Ben, all Nora really wants to do is to expose the animals' ability to walk and talk. Of course, as the animals fear the fact that this means being sent to scientists to be experimented on, their fears of her are definitely justified.
Keep the balloon running, this'll be quick and dirty.
However, let's consider this from her point of view. The poor old woman is constantly teased and pranked by the animals, and even at one point ends up in a mental hospital thanks to their antics getting to her that badly and saving Miss Beatty.
Well, this is awkward.
Not only that, she really isn't intent on harming them, at least herself, and usually does her schemes in ways that won't hurt them until they get to the scientists. It's certainly hard to blame her, especially when she's been shown to be willing to reason with the animals and even befriend them until she was literally struck with lightning and forgot everything.
Mrs. Beatty, are you okay?
She may be rough at times, but really, with how rough life can be with her, it's pretty hard to blame her. Now moving on to people that try to be bullies just to amuse themselves. We have the 3-year-old tyrant, Angelica Pickles. Considering her age, it may be quite easy to deduce why she isn't any higher. She is just a standard preschool bully towards the Rugrats, content with just stealing their sweets and lying to them. Like with her pretending that Cynthia was kidnapped in order to get the babies to give her sweets, to tricking them to working for her for free, like in her lemonade stand business in Angelica's Last Stand.
Okay, if you're not buying, you're flying. Next!
And her constant rivalry with Susie. She also isn't above manipulating parents if she can, like using Stu's invention in Angelica Orders Out, to trick her father into buying her gifts and buying a lot of takeout.
This is Charlotte Pickles speaking. I'm a grown-up lady.
However, she is still just a toddler herself. Her schemes never really do any lasting harm and just blow up in her face in the end. She also does have her own morality, as she is horrified at just how mean Coco could be in Rugrats in Paris, and steps in to stop Josh from bullying the babies in New Kid in Town.
And don't ever let me catch you picking on my babies again!
She does indeed care for the babies deep down, but she isn't interested in showing it. She may be a villain, but she is still just a kid, or in her case, a dumb baby. 4th place belongs to the Greaser Dogs from Cat Dog. These 3 alley dogs live on the streets and are your run-of-the-mill playground jerks, physically assaulting whoever they can, namely Cat Dog for being different than them.
You want it in the head, the belly, the kneecaps, or all of the above?
Cliff is the short-tempered leader, more than happy to throw the first punch at people that he sees as different. He did try to go straight once and beware of Cliff after being stuck under some weights, only for it to not stick in the end.
It's perfectly alright to be mean.
So at least there was an attempt. Shriek is the female of the group. Originally from a rich family, her demanding mother and careless and ignorant father made her desire a new life, leading her to the Greasers.
I'd rather be home with the Greasers where I belong!
She promises to only hurt Cat whenever they're about to be pounded due to having a crush on Dog. Even then, she still has been shown to be friendly with Cat at times. Considering that Cat has a crush and has created one of the weirdest love triangles ever, it's safe to say that she is at least more reasonable than Cliff. Finally, there's the nicest of the group, Lube. He may look dumb, but he's probably the smartest one of the group, being a mechanic as well as a cook for the group when making snacks for them and ironing their clothes. In the Great Parent Mystery, he actually helps the duo on grounds of having a cat mom and dad and being part cat.
Ladies and gentlemen, this here's my boy, Lou.
Heck, in All You Need Is Lube, Lube befriends and helps out Cat Dog after they get a tick off of him, even leaving the Greasers. Overall, while they are brash and harmful at times, each member of the group is nicer than the last, letting them enjoy a low spot on this list. Next up, we have the much-hated show Planet Sheen's villain, Dorkas. In comparison to the other villains on the list, Dorkas finds himself in a rather advantageous position. He is the self-declared enemy of Sheen, who has become the ambassador of Earth, and Dorkas wants to expose Sheen for the idiot he is.
Your dress is really soft.
Oh, grok.
It's hard to feel bad for the guy considering that Sheen broke his house on Jimmy's rocket on the way into Xenu, and that Sheen doesn't seem to notice him or notice how serious he is. Heck, Sheen even has the audacity to say that his house was in the way of the rocket.
Excuse me, but I think it was your house that destroyed my rocket.
So if he is rather justified in hating Sheen, what makes him worse than the others? Well, he is rather eager to get Sheen killed off.
I'll definitely take care of him.
From setting up Sheen to face off against a unicorn really to eat him in Isn't That Cute, to setting up a big and elaborate play riddled with death traps made especially for Sheen in Act 1, Sheen 1.
Could anything worse possibly happen?
And don't forget, Sheen is still just a kid, no matter how dumb he is. Plus, aside from the pilot, Sheen really doesn't have any hatred for Dorkas, even trying to invite him to a house party in The Boy Next Dorkas. He may have his reasons for hating Sheen, but there is a fine line between hating and trying to kill, and he crossed it. That said, it is hard to blame him for the grudge in the first place.
This foul alien destroyed my house.
Up next, we have the main villain of Rocket Power, Lars Rodriguez. As Twister's brother, there is bound to be a lot of brotherly annoyances. Lars's gang is often a rival of Otto's gang.
Gee,
I'm sorry. I'll try to be more careful.
The two often get into competition with each other, with Lars' team losing more often than not. That being said, he still does have some love for his little brother, not wanting others to hurt him, as he's the only one allowed to hurt him. Even occasionally helping Otto and his friends if it means helping Twister, like making sure their sandcastle is still up for the judges to see in the Great Sandcastle Race. Also filling in for Otto's team when he's asked to if one of their members can't compete. Like when Otto broke his leg, or when they had to replace Sam in a tournament.
If we're gonna win this, you guys are gonna have to do a lot better.
While he is occasionally a caring brother, he's still a bully about 95% of the time. Moving on, we have Fanboy and Chum Chum's own bully, Boog. As the runner of their favorite store with their favorite drink, the Frosty Freezy Freeze, they often end up crossing paths, and more often than not, end up getting bopped by Boog. This Frosty Mart worker is just as cold as the drinks he sells.
Hey, this stuff is mine!
Like I said, I don't need it.
He cares more about his chimp chomp machine than he does for any real human, more than willing to punch whoever he wants for fun. Even though he's 20 years old, he has no problem whatsoever with actually punching kids, even enjoying delivering knuckle sandwiches like it was a hobby. The only time he's somewhat friendly with Fanboy and Chum Chum is when he's either using them to help find a monster in Monster in the Mist, or pranking Yo in Prank Master. If he is only friendly when either causing misery to others or furthering his own safety, then it's pretty safe to say that this is one worker you don't want to work with.
I yank on the rope and you pull me back quick as you can.
Now, we can't forget Ed Bighead of Rocco's Modern Life. He serves as the main antagonist for Rocco, being grumpy due to having to live next door. The guy has his own team of scientists dedicated to building a heat ray just to kill Rocco and his friends underneath his house, as seen in Wacky Deli.
This is it, son. The heat ray!
His hatred for him extends so much that even when Rocco is nice to him, like in Cabin Fever, with Rocco allowing the Bigheads to stay in his cabin, all he complains about is that he's sharing a cabin and tries to make it miserable for him still.
Come on, Bill! Get your things!
That said, what ultimately saves Ed from going any higher is his role in the series finale, Static Cling, with him eventually making amends with Rocco thanks to him bringing back his son, now daughter, Rachel, formerly Ralph, before getting a sex change. Ed even ends up helping Rocco accept that change is natural in life.
Rocco, we can't live in the past.
While it's nice to see amends being made, it is still hard to forget just how gung-ho he was about killing our favorite Wallaby. Another early 90s character, we have Bill Bluff from Doug. Originally starting out as a Nicktoon, then moving to Disney, we're still counting Doug here due to how many people still see Doug as a Nick show. But there is some network crossover. He's the richest man in Bluffington, and he isn't afraid of flaunting his wealth around. He's able to rig a contest just so a school could be named after his daughter, and uses his money to pay cops to do whatever he wants. The highlight of his villainy is in Doug's Christmas Story, where he made the lives of Doug and all of his family nightmares, just because they tried to stand up for Doug's dog, Porkchop. This was all for Porkchop biting his daughter in an attempt to save her life from falling into some thin ice. Bill responded by sending him to the meanest dog pound in town by forcing the mayor to do so, publicly shaming Doug and his family because they protested it, and tried to get Porkchop killed off by rigging the trial against him.
Call me Your Honor, Bill. And don't worry, we'll be out of here in no time.
But his nastiest role, however, comes from Doug's first movie. In an attempt to keep the fact that he dumps chemicals into a lake secret, he attempts to kill the harmless mutated lizard that came out of the lake and tried to blackmail two kids into keeping it a secret.
Well, we'll see how smart you are when I get through with you.
He may be the CEO of Bluffington, but saying that he's good is a bluff in and of itself. For our next entry, we have to go low, as in going under the sea, to meet Sheldon J Plankton. The owner of the failure known as the Chum Bucket, he once was actually buddy-buddy with Mr. Krabs in their youth, and even teamed up to create their first restaurant, to little success, to put it nicely.
Nothing will stop me! Give me that!
The food was so bad it flat out killed Old Man Jenkins, or at least one of the many different versions of Old Man Jenkins. While Mr. Krabs felt bad about it, Plankton didn't even seem fazed by it, and an argument about the formula would lead them to split and go down their own paths, becoming bitter enemies.
I'll give you a fight you'll never forget!
He has since been a constant visitor to the Krusty Krab for the Krabby Patty, not to buy it, but but to steal the formula for it. These schemes range from faking being Spongebob's friend, tricking the citizens of Bikini Bottom to go on a freezing tundra race to leave the Krusty Krab empty and alone for him to steal the formula, and even tricking Mr. Krabs into working his employees overtime with 24 hours a day.
When I get my hands on that formula, there won't be any hope for any of you.
His worst deed, however, is his deadliest plan, Plan Z, from the original SpongeBob movie.
This Plan Z can't possibly fail!
Starting with him stealing Neptune's crown. This escalated to getting Mr. Krabs so close to death by having him be frozen by King Neptune, and even further by hypnotizing the entire residents of Bikini Bottom, turning them into slaves for him. He may be small, but he sure is effective for what he does. That said, what puts him lower than more vicious villains is that he actually does have a couple people in his life that he does care about. His computer wife named Karen, his pet amoeba called Spot, and his son, Kip Plankton II. With Karen, it is with him confessing that he still thinks highly of her in the second SpongeBob movie, and saving her life in Karen 2.0.
I promise never to take you for granted again!
With Spot, it's adopting him and treating him like an actual pet in Plankton's pet. With Chip, it's growing to like him after saving him from a gang in Karen's baby. He even ends up helping Mr. Krabs get his formula back from Burger Beard and Sponge Out of Water just because he promised he would. Overall, despite what he's capable of doing, he really is 1% evil and 99% hot gas. Up next, we have the ever-forgetful Professor Finbar Calamitous. Once a student of Miss Fowl's class, he was once hailed as a brilliant upcoming student, if not for one major flaw. He just can't finish anything. Food, homework, even his own sentences.
I'll get you, Jimmy Neutron.
After leaving school after not finishing his lunch one day, the professor became the evil mad scientist he is today. Or he would be more evil and powerful if he ever finished his inventions. Instead, he just kidnaps Jimmy to force him to finish his inventions for him.
He disappeared one day after not finishing his lunch.
With these inventions complete, he truly becomes powerful, with gizmos ranging from helping him take over Retroville, flat out melting Mount Everest, and even trying to change reality as he sees fit during Jimmy Timmy Power Hour 2, after merging with Jordan.
The Earth will revert to its original state, allowing me to remake it.
He has a daughter called Beautiful Gorgeous and teaches her the ropes of being a villain, even if she doesn't like his own buffoonish nature. Just be thankful that he is just as forgetful and procrastinating as he is. Next, we have the father of a superhero, Puma Loco. His exact alignment is as hard to pin down as you would expect as someone with the name Crazy Puma would have. He is the feared villain of Miracle City, constantly robbing banks with the only person able to stop him being his own son, Rodolfo Rivera, and his superhero form, White Pantera. As the grandfather of the easily influenced Manny Rivera, or El Tigre, trying to find his own path in life, he wants him to become a villain just like he was.
You stole money from me, and you lied.
He may be retired as of now, but he still goes out for a night of robbing banks or jewelry if the mood strikes. He is a family man, however, and still loves his heroic son and grandson, being happy with whatever path he chooses to go down, good or evil. This morality forces him to end up helping out his family and thus do good over evil. Heck, in the series finale, he ends up with El Tigre's belt, and after learning how to control it, was able to beat up other supervillains with the family, and even became celebrated as a hero.
We're rockin'!
Now that was family fun!
Overall, while he certainly does have a couple skeletons in his closet, he also does a fair amount of spring cleaning in there as well. He may be proud to be a villain, but he's prouder as a family man. Unlucky number 13 belongs to the villainous, verminous Snaptrap. The big bad of Tough Puppy, this rodent of unusual size is the leader of the Diabolical Order of Mayhem, or Doom. As the main villain, he is quite unhinged.
Soon you will all perish, and I will rule Petropolis!
Alongside performing many evil schemes to try to take over the world, he's also been shown frequent disregard for his own workers, more than happy with punishing them should they fail, like tossing his henchmen into a shark tank, or even just stealing their plans for world conquest. He is as evil as he is petty, with his schemes being a toss-up between just acting like a spoiled child that has been told no, to more vile schemes like trying to launch the townspeople into the sun. as well as sinking a ship by crashing it into an iceberg and trying to blow up the sun just to make popcorn. He does have a bit of a gentleman's side to him, however, as he's always nice enough to tell Tough just what his scheme is, considering it rude to not let them know in advance. If it's your birthday, then he'll give you the gift of letting you celebrate it first before killing you, because hey, no one's that evil.
Look, we'll do a little birthday thing, and then I'll drop you in the lava.
He also considers just eating the people who blocked him from riding a monotrail a bit too much, as it's just too dark and disturbing. He also ends up finding love in Snapdad, falling in love with Dudley's mother, and even becoming an agent for Tough to prove himself to her.
I was gonna give her this ring.
That's my ring!
He failed in the end, but there was an attempt. In the end, he may be a villain, but you may be able to leave an encounter with him alive. Just don't offer him cheese. He's allergic to it, and yes, he's aware of the irony.
Silence! I'm aware of the irony!
As we continue our descent, we have Chalk Zone's own villainous Skrull. Created after a botched drawing by Rudy, he has come to hate his own appearance and takes out his rage by attacking the denizens of Chalk Zone.
My whole life is no fair.
He's a villain and proud of it, more than happy of it, constantly trying to make life miserable. This can range from trying to flood and commit the mass murder of many of the inhabitants of Chalk Zone by trapping them in a museum in the Skrull, to building a robotic brain to hypnotize the citizens of Chalk Zone in Skrull's brain. He even backs out of a deal he made with Rudy after he tried to fix his appearance, more than willing to let others drown. The only real positive we have for him is that he seems to care for his underlings, making sure that they don't get hurt during the attack on his brain in Skrull's brain. But even then, he still is willing to go rough on them, as shown in Beanie Boys to Men, albeit in more of a drill instructor kind of way. Also, for as much as he hates Rudy, we do see him tearfully waving goodbye to him in Let's Go Wandering, as co-creator Bill Burnett explains that he still saw Rudy as his creator, and it was like saying goodbye to God as he left you. Overall, he definitely is one crude drawing. Anyone who, without a hint of irony, says, "I'm evil, get it?" is either a proud villain or a Dungeons & Dragons DM.
I'm evil. Get it?
We're gonna throw in Kip ODonnell next, the poacher from the Wild Thornberrys. Although he's always with his lackey Biederman, we're going to rank him specifically because he's clearly the more evil of the duo.
Shut up and grab a koala.
O'Donnell definitely seems to be an emotionally disturbed man and is without a doubt cruel and sadistic. Given his occupation as a poacher, it's not really difficult to understand why he ranks so low. Given everything he has attempted to do throughout the Wild Thornberrys in order to harm animals, he deserves to be called out for being such a sick SOB.
They'll be the teddy bears of a new generation.
Luckily, his plans are always foiled and he's left humiliated. Next we have Eamon from The Legend of Korra. The leader of the villainous Equalists, his goal is to make everyone equal by removing bending from everyone.
Together we will tear down the bending establishment!
He claims that his parents were killed by firebenders in front of his very eyes, and as such wants to rid the world of benders, seeing bending as the root of all evil. His real backstory is that he is the son of Yukon, a bender who has lost all of his powers thanks to Aang. As such, he and his brother were meant to be raised to revenge, but at the same time learned the outlawed art of bloodbending.
You must avenge me.
While his brother rejected this idea, Eamon loved bloodbending, and with how bloodbending can make people insane, you get a recipe for a crazed wannabe messiah.
He made us bloodbend each other.
In public, he tries to keep a clean image, only going after evil benders till he amassed enough support to attack the more scrupulous benders. Seeing himself as the solution, he isn't afraid to do questionable or downright evil things if it means his goals get closer to completion. That said, he still does have some care for his brother, even after he pushed him away as he fell in love with bloodbending. And he at least admits to any crimes that he truly did commit.
Stay away from him.
Plus, as bad as his actions are, he does have a brighter future in mind, with helping poorer citizens and working for equality. He may have been a sane man at one point, but at this point, he is far too gone to be reasoned with. He may not be the solution, but he is still effective all the same, at least in his mind.
I told you I would destroy you.
Vicky of the Fairly Oddparents gets the title of 5th most evil Nickelodeon villain, and deservedly so.
It's me, Vicky.
This tyrannical babysitter preys off of unsuspecting parents to torment poor children. She is psychotic and proud of it, more than happy to keep torturing kids under her rule by forcing them to do chores, to flat out blackmailing and using chainsaws to scare them.
Hey, I heard happy. What's going on in here?
As the series went on, her actions and desires got more and more demented, eventually reaching global domination and channel chasers. It's clear that the show never really intended for Vicky to be sympathetic in any way, and it shows. She has babysat for way more children than Timmy and her sister. Now you may be wondering just how someone like Vicky can be so twisted. Well, the show offers several explanations, one of which is that her core emotion, kindness, never showed up for work in Tiny Timmy, and in Snowbound, it's because she claimed to have had a miserable childhood herself.
I don't mean to be mean all the time. I just am.
Finally, in Vicky Loses Her Icky, it's explained that she literally has a bad bug inside her, making her act this way. She certainly does have a lot going for her, but when she's happy to scare her own family and parents into submission to get her way, it's very hard to feel any pity for her.
See? We cleaned your room. Cleaned it just like you asked us to.
The 4th most evil Nickelodeon villain is Vlad. As the major recurring villain in Danny Phantom, Danny ends up finding himself facing this foe. As a billionaire half ghost, half man, Vlad has his sights set on the hand of Maddie Fenton in marriage, before being more than willing to kill Jack Fenton to achieve his goals.
Well, once your father is out of the way, we'll see how you feel.
He says that this is because Jack caused the accident that turned him into a half a ghost. He had to spend years in a hospital as Jack married Maddie. So for him to be happy, he just needed to marry Maddie, right? Well, Masters of All Time says no to that hard. When the role is flipped and Jack is the one who gets a half-ghost form, he still proves himself to be better than the completely human Vlad.
You think I care? I like it this way!
In Phantom Planet, he even decides to take advantage of an approaching asteroid called the Disasteroid, trying to become the leader of the world, promising that for $500 billion and controlling the entire world, he'll save the planet by phasing out the Disasteroid.
Be destroyed or be saved. Oh, and ruled by me.
However, this would lead to his downfall as the Disasteroid is covered in a substance that negates ghost powers. And realizing he blew his cover and can't go back home, as he would just be hunted. As much of a self-entitled fiend this wannabe lover is, he does at least have the potential for being a decent person. In The Ultimate Enemy, he willingly takes in Danny once he lost literally everything in his life, even trying to remove his ghost self from his human self, unfortunately creating the dreamed Dark Danny. However, after spending a decade alone, he does at least wisen up and realize how big of a fool he was. He also is genuinely excited at the idea of Danny being his prodigy. For as controlling as he can be, he does still have some desire for a family.
Maybe that's all anybody needs. A second chance.
Of course, due to how he can be, it probably is for the best that he was hit by the Disasteroid at the end of Phantom Planet. We're in the final top 3, and the winner of our bronze medal for Most Evil goes to Vexus from My Life as a Teenage Robot. The queen of Cluster Prime who wants Jenny to join her through any means possible, Vexus has enslaved countless people, or as she calls them, flesh wearers, so they can serve, in her eyes, the superior race, robots.
Soon you will join us, and together we will enslave the human race.
She has proven herself to be a constant threat to humanity and to Jenny, such as trying to brainwash her with a nanobot in Hostile Makeover, amassing all the robots in a convention in Trade Show Showdown, just to attack Jenny, and even tricking her friend, Sheldon, into giving her Jenny's master blueprints in designing women.
The plans! They're gone!
Her biggest and deadliest plan, however, was trying to launch a full-scale invasion of Earth and escape from Cluster Prime, where after Jenny got trapped on her own planet, it's revealed that she's been lying to her citizens, saying that Jenny is much more evil than she is, even hiding some important golden chips that would have given the citizens access to their powers to frame it on Jenny.
We have been betrayed and lied to by our leader.
The reason why she isn't any lower is because after Jenny's trip to Cluster Prime, not only have the golden chips been recovered, but Vexus herself has been disposed of, and now just lives on a floating asteroid. While she still tried to go after Jenny, mainly by just trying to be petty and steal the spotlight from her at school, it's very obvious that without her empire, Vexus really isn't that powerful of a threat that she wants you to believe she is. That said, she did have one pride and joy, her daughter, Vega. At least, she was her pride until she was overthrown by her and lost access to all of her previous resources.
Mother, listen to me! She's not the enemy!
Once a powerful threat against Jenny, now just a common annoyance, it's kind of hard to not feel a bit bad for her. Then you remember her past misdeeds and realize that she deserves it. With our silver medal of overall evil villainy, we have the almighty tallest's worst nightmare, Zim. At first glance, Zim is just an incompetent alien invader sent to Earth only because he caused so much damage to the Urkin Empire.
What's the matter, human? Why aren't you stopping me?
His sidekick, Gur, can even be more competent than him at times, as seen in Gur Goes Crazy and stuff. And even his own computer system doesn't pay him much attention. So just why does he get the silver medal? Simple. It's Zim's zany nature that makes him a total threat. Without anyone stopping him, Zim is capable of creating massive destruction. In vain efforts to appease his tallists, he is dead set on making this world dead.
Hello? I am here, my tallest! My tallest!
In Walk for Your Lives, he more or less created a massive bomb that destroys the entire town. In The Wettening, he floods the entire city with a water balloon after being assaulted by water thanks to his nemesis, Dib. In Hobo 13, he ends up casually killing off fellow Urkins just to get through the deadly obstacle course.
I'm programming my suit to steal energy from the rest of the team.
In Battle of the Planets, Zim takes control of Mars itself, as in the literal planet, just to slam it into Earth. And these are just a few examples. His most impressive vile feat, however, is Into the Florpus, where he managed to teleport the entire world into the path of the Urkin Armada, ready to let the tallest destroy the planet themselves, even creating the titular Florpus that proved to be a very real threat to Earth by distorting reality and everything that enters it, including the ever so stubborn tallest that refuse to go around the Florpus because they don't believe in turning.
But we're going straight! Yeah! Turn is no fun!
Zim came within seconds of reaching his goal of destroying the Earth for good. So yeah, as laughable it is to look at Zim's usual antics, when the invader is given a free pass, he is more than willing to go all the way with his schemes just to destroy Earth. The only reason Zim isn't number one is that he saved Earth a couple of times, like against the Planet Jackers and Tak. If only so he could do the deed himself.
The Earth is safe! I did it, Gur!
He may be foolish 9 out of 10 times, but beware of that 10th time. At the very worst of the worst, we're ending with Avatar. The gold medal of Nickelodeon villainy goes to the ever-looming threat of the original Avatar series, Firelord Ozai. In comparison to Amon, who at least was after a noble goal with some questionable methods, Ozai is just a conqueror of nations just because of his belief in Fire Nation supremacy.
No bender will stand a chance against us.
He sees all nations as weak and is more than willing to step on them if they get into his way. He is not afraid to use emotions to manipulate those that he sees as tools, including his own children. He even outright tries to have his own son killed off numerous times, even being the reason as to why he has the scar on his face. Even then, he still treats Azula worse by grooming her to be his successor, emotionally abusing her and gradually turning her into a ruthless fighter for the Fire Nation.
I've decided to declare you the new Fire Lord.
The kindest thing he ever did to Zuko was banishing him, ironically enough, as Azula ended up being outright broken once she finally lost to Katara. He is more than ready to fully end the war once Sozin's comet comes by, more or less destroying the whole world just to show off Firebender's supremacy.
I will use its power to end the Earth Kingdom.
The guy believes that compassion of any kind is a way of showing how weak people are, not understanding why Aang would possibly let him live. Given how he believes that there is no right or wrong code of conduct and how happy he is to take the most sadistic route possible, it's not hard to see why he gets the gold medal of evil.
No, I'm not gonna end it like this.
For a guy who just burns whatever is bothering him, becoming powerless and trapped in a jail cell with your son locking you up in there is a fitting ending. A villain that is more than happy committing mass extinction of various continents till they are either dead or surrendered to his. He more than earns the top spot on our list. But what do you think? Did we overlook some villain's wicked misdeed? Let us know in the comments section. Remember to hit that notification bell and be sure to binge our Good to Evil playlist, where we break down the morality of the characters in your favorite shows, cartoons, and movies. But most importantly, stay wicked.